Good morning.
Morning.
I'm looking at your faces. If it's your first time here, just wave at me. It's nice to see Reverend Sandra's in the house. Surprise. Yeah. You have another Unity minister in here. I didn't even know you were here. She was trying to slip in incognito, and there I go, right from the platform. So good to see you. Yeah. My first internship was with her. Yeah, during my program. So I would like Reverend Barbara and Dr. Nancy to come up here just for a moment. Just stand here with me. You know, these two, the three of us, these two beautiful, beautiful spiritual leaders have been such a blessing to this community. Would you agree?
Yes.
And because we move around at different times, we're not always here at the same time, at the same day. So I just wanted you to see that these are leaders, these are spiritual leaders that are so blessed to be part of this movement, this organization, and right here at Unity in Greenville. And so I just wanted a group hug. Did we ever get to be together? Thank you. Thank you for all you do and who you are. We're always just crossing paths or texting or saying, well, you're there and then I'm coming on Sunday, and so here we are today. So blessed. Blessed. This community is blessed. As Sandra said earlier, with speakers, with people that are here just to empower and uplift. And whatever we're navigating in this world, and I say that because we are looking as this as a container to expand consciousness, to stay a part of a frequency. Dr. Michael Beckwith used to always say this. Our frequencies are very important. What are we vibrating on? And when we come together as a spiritual community, whether it's a book study or a group or 3 or 4 people or 2 or more, or an entire community, we are vibrating at a different frequency that we can take out into the world and show up a little bit differently. And it does change. It changes and it helps navigate the space that we're in and for others too, even when they're unaware that we're doing it. I have good news to share. Anybody need some good news? Yes. Denise, I heard you back there. You need some good news? Yes. Yeah. Got good news to share. We need some more good news. The news is coming on and it's all good. Wouldn't that be something? Okay, we got it today. I've often talked about road trips. Talked about it here many times. We're on road trips, to and from Dallas. We're doing that trip quite a bit. And even before ministry, I went to Dallas quite a bit prior to ministry. I worked over here. Troy went to Dallas quite a bit. But when you go to work or you're doing a project or a job, you kind of go and you don't really explore. You don't see more. And so as I work with ministries around the country, I go to the church, I work with the church, and then I leave. I don't really explore. And we often take the road trips, this last 2 years especially, to Kansas City, to Unity Village, to our headquarters, to attend conference or to attend summit or what might be going on there. And now as a cohort leader for our ministerial students, we have 16. And so I go regularly to support our students that'll be ordained in 2026, will be their graduation date. So Troy and I and Maggie, for those of you who've heard about Maggie, you might know who she is, but she's the dog. The large standard poodle that just stares out the window so cars drive by and just lean over looking at her. She might be a distraction for the drivers. But we travel a lot, and I promise there's never a debate between us on directions or trips or anything. It's just a peaceful journey. I never navigate the trip very well. I usually have to argue with the navigation system. You've heard me say that before. And Troy usually says something like, well, she just said. And I said, yeah, but I know the way to go. Y'all heard me talk about that before. So today's Are We There Yet? The really talk is, are we there yet? And I think that's a question metaphorically also in spiritual communities, in our consciousness. Are we there yet? Have we reached that place of, yeah, we got it figured out? Anybody want to raise your hand and say, we figured it all out yet? Okay, good. We're always on our work. We're always on our path. And so on this last trip, we were coming to Dallas. It was the same familiar routine, except something big was going on that I want to share with you today. And I'm going to share more about this later. But we were also traveling along with this giant moving truck and these people that had all of our things in it, which is very different, right? So I normally go and do the regular trip, but they were ahead, and I thought, is this really happening? There were moments over the last few weeks and few months as we prepared things to get ready to where we would be. I kept wondering, where is it really going to land? You know, yes, there was a destination, there was a plan, there was something in place. Strategic planning is very important. The critical mind is very important. We need that. But also, this time, Reverend Barbara, I was following. Where will I be? Where will we be? And over the last 2 years, I'll say it this way, many people in this community remember 2 years ago when my father made a sudden transition. And a couple of days ago, it was 811 days later, not that I count, but I do, that I put his house on the market. Because that's where we have been in the transition period. And it's never felt settled. And while the journey took us into selling our house, our dream home, and moving into his house to help with, you all know, the sorting and the planning and all that it goes along with someone's passing. But I kept wondering, could this be home? Could this be home? And the word home never landed. So I knew it was a soft place to land. It was a restful place to be at times. But we were always open to where would we be. So this time, taking these journeys, we began going to the churches to serve, whether it was in Austin or Orange County, California, San Diego, around Dallas, various places we would go. I would stay longer. We would stay longer and explore the restaurants, the people, the communities, the neighborhoods, to wonder where would we be. Let's be open and receptive. Let's follow. Let's see where the navigation system within us is guiding us. And it kept pointing to Dallas. And I argued. I said, well, maybe. It's awful hot there in the summer. Not that it's not hot in Houston. It gets really colder in the winter. You know, do you do this? Do you kind of argue with, you have that intuitive yes that you know, but you kind of want to argue with a little bit, like, maybe, maybe not. So exploring and looking and feeling into it. Because after 27 years together, we know what we know when we know it. We feel it together. We know what aligns. And so I was having fun with this story, and I thought, are we there yet? Now, how often have you heard the grandkids, the children, the grandchildren, are we there yet? Have you ever said that yourself? I say it at my age. 5 hours on the trip. We're 4 hours and 30 minutes down the road, and I'm like, we've only traveled 30 minutes? You've done that? I see some nods. So I thought, what would this be like if we took this scenario and we had the minivan, the child in the back seat, the child is saying, are we there yet? Are we there yet? But we put 3 wise characters in the minivan to answer those questions. Has anyone ever heard of Pema Chodron? Deepak Chopra? And Brené Brown. Okay, so they're in the minivan. The child's in the back seat. Are we there yet? Pema Chodron says, remember, young one, it's not about the destination. It's the deep journey within itself. It's a moment-to-moment place in which we can pay attention to all the gems that are along the way. Of course, the child looks around and goes, who is this person? And the next wise character is Brené Brown. If you've watched Brené Brown, if you've read Brené Brown, she's fun. And she's direct. And she says, oh my gosh, I appreciate your vulnerability. Why don't we do some vulnerability karaoke while we're in the car? Of course, the child is thinking, these people are crazy. Where am I? And the next person, Deepak Chopra. Ever heard his voice? Very even-keeled. He pops in and says, patience, dear child. In every experience, we grow in consciousness. We expand the journey into something more and beyond what we ever imagined. It's really not the destination. There's something far greater that's rippling out to grow the consciousness of the world. At this point, the child says, Well, could we at least find out if there's a bathroom nearby? And I thought about, some of the people you could place in the car, our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, or put Jesus in the car, and what they might come up with some of the things that we whine and we complain about. No one here whines and complains about anything, I'm sure. But we do this. And yet, what would a teacher say? What would a wisdom teacher say to us in those moments? So I had fun with that. And the child probably said, maybe I should just ask Siri next time and not ask any of these people in the car. Adventures in life ask us to be courageous. They do. Anytime we go somewhere, a vacation or adventure, we're being courageous. Mary, I bet you're being courageous right now. It's a courageous journey. Courageous. Brené Brown often says courage is contagious. Meaning that when we see someone else doing something bold and big and stepping out, we notice that and we go, wow, I wonder if I could do that. So when we step out in action and we do more and we stand in our truth and we empower others with that courageousness. We have a profound innate power. Do you know that there's a power within you? Do you know that there is a Christ presence? There's a power deep within you to do all things. When Valerie read the Lent reading for today, you heard that we have that power within us. The power to choose where our power goes. Do we get rattled by the circumstances of the world and the things that go on? And do we allow it to take us out of our power and get us into frustration and anger and fear and anxiety? Absolutely. But as our awareness grows, as we awaken more, we go, okay, I was there. Fear and anxiety is there for a reason. It's to guide us and redirect us. We need it for survival. You walk through the woods, you see something concerning, some fear comes up, that saves you from that. We need that. But I spoke to my former senior minister on the phone yesterday about there's some political stuff, of course, going on in a social media thread, and I called him on the phone and I said, is that just craziness? And he said, it's just unusual how people are doing what they do right now. It's just so unusual. So I spoke to him about it, and I told him what my thoughts were. And I said, I remember in the early days when I'm sitting in the sanctuary and he's speaking. This is Reverend Howard Caesar in Newby, Houston. For many years, and I was sitting in the sanctuary. He would often say, we have two choices. We come from love or fear. Sometimes it's in between, but we come from love or fear. So where do you want to be right now? Where do you want to be? And I shared that back with him. He said, oh, I said that? I said, you did. You know how you hear those nuggets of things that stick with you? And it's true. I think we come from fear quite often, maybe even more so lately. But we have the choice. There's where awakening happens. To shift into something else. To shift the frequency. To say, I'm going to choose a different path. I'm going to follow. And that's what this journey has been about for us and for me, asking myself, what is mine to do? What is mine to do right now? Where is mine right now? In the grief and navigating the story, I believe grief is an awareness for all of us. And yes, grief is involved. Oftentimes we hear it when someone passes, we lose a loved one. But I believe grief is present all the time, every day, in every aspect of our life. That was my beginning into ministry, is working with grief folks in grief support classes. And I could often remember people coming to show up because someone had passed. And I really started to pay attention how grief is part of every aspect of our lives. It's not a bad word. Even something like this, you have a car that you've loved forever, it's gotten you around, you've got a lot of good memories, but you let that car go, there may be a little grief there, but you're excited about the new one. You're excited, but there's a transition with that. So grief is always running through our lives, and I think when we pay attention to it, we can honor it, celebrate it, release, and let go. Divine expression is creativity, and it's an adventure. If you look around in this moment, just look around at the sanctuary. Maybe touch the pews, feel the wood, look at the windows, look at the ceiling. Over 100 years ago, this was a piece of property. There was an idea and a vision. A creative vision where someone said, maybe that will be a church, a ministry to serve. And then it became a building. And people got together with a vision and created more. And what you see today is the evolution of people coming and spiritual leaders and people such as you that are here in a sanctuary, filling it with energy. And look at what is created out of a divine expression, a thought, a seed, an idea. That's an adventure. That's a road trip. That's a journey. And we're all on it together. And in the collective consciousness, that's a really important part. That's why you matter. Everything you do matters. So when we get into fear and frustration, it's an opportunity for us to say, oh my gosh, I'm there. I need to be gentle with myself and really feel my feelings. But then shift to something new. That the sun is going to come out. The sky will be blue. And we will shine again. 2 years ago, as I mentioned, when my father suddenly made his transition. And it was one of those things that I know grief well with my entire family, but this was happy and here today and suddenly gone tomorrow. No warning, nothing out of the ordinary. And that sent me on a deeper dive into really looking deeper at that grief story. And knowing that Troy and I as a team would begin that journey of relocating and moving and really honoring his space and now releasing it to a real estate agent and people going to, as we speak, are touring it right now, finding their new home and welcoming that space that a new family is going to find their love and their forever home. And I invite you to hold that with me because they will find it. So back to this moving truck part. That moving truck, after looking at places and being at places, and over the last few months of being here regularly, I hesitated sharing with you because I would often pinch myself. Because not only did Dallas become the space to call home, but the right and perfect neighborhood showed up. And so unusual, no, it's a divine timing. It's not unusual. It's a divine timing in being aware and following and listening. That even looking at the house, neighbors came out of their houses and I was hugged by strangers. And I thought, who are these people? Like the child in the back of the car, like, what's happening? I'm not familiar with people doing that anymore, are you? That people just come out and say, are you moving in? And a hug? And I thought, is this a Unity Church neighborhood or something? What's going on? These are some hugging people. And it was wonderful. We knew it so right and so perfect that the lady next door said, why don't you come over and sit on the couch and I'll tell you about the previous family and how long this house has been here, since 1941, which really has a lot of good energy in it. So the remodel and the transition and the stories and the neighbors telling us about the stories that this was a beloved house and a beloved corner that everyone loved so much. And we were waiting for the right and perfect people to come here. You are those people. I said, well, I don't know. Have you gone inside and met Troy? You just met me at this point. Meanwhile, a neighbor from the other side was already in the kitchen and they were having a conversation. I thought, wow, I might need to put some blinds up or something here. This is, One lady actually told me, she said, I'm known as Gladys Kravitz in the neighborhood. Do you know what that means? She actually said that. I said, oh, you're known as that? She said, yeah, so if you're out of town, all you have to do is let me know. I'm like, that's great. So now she waves out her blinds and I wave back. It's wonderful. So the navigation system, the inner system, the following that you mentioned in Reverend Barbara in the meditation. To follow, and I will follow. And followed right here. Troy was so the eternal optimist of this whole story as it was unfolding. He didn't tell me, but he went online and changed his driver's license. And actually, we just arrived back here just a couple of days ago, and in the mailbox was his new driver's license. Said, look, it's got the address on it. I'm a Dallas resident now. And I'm like, wow. I'm a little behind. I've been a little bit busy. I feel like I need like 4 years worth of naps. So here we are in Dallas. So you're going to see me a little more regularly, I would guess, if that's okay. Yes. The right and perfect neighborhood, the moving truck found its final destination. And often what I notice is the messages that we receive, I think we argue with the internal trust system. Because our head gets in the way, or we lead with our heart, and it's really about a balancing system, a balancing head and heart. Where am I to go? What am I to do? And then we listen within. And what I think is most often true is we need to step out of the way, turn the keys over to Spirit, and let Spirit lead. To take the wheel, to drive. Trust is something that continually comes up. Internal trust, trust with others. And I think right now there's some stability going on, an unmet need of stability going on with a lot of people. Some security, some footing beneath them. So trust is being shattered even a little bit more right now. So it's a deeper exercise for us to continue working on that internal trust as our foundation. When we go on road trips, when we go on journeys, if it's a plane trip or a car trip, we make sure the tires are good, I hope. We make sure we've got everything we need, snacks on the trip. Where we're going, do I have my driver's license, insurance, passport, whatever I might need. Where are the keys? Ready to go, and where are the keys? Oh my gosh, we loaded up the car and Maggie's still in the house. Sounds like Home Alone. But I have looked lately is there's boxes everywhere, and what's in that box, and where's my clothes, and oh, it's Sunday, and where are my suits? I don't even know where things are. So there's a disorientation, but a trust that it's all in divine timing. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said everything has divine understanding. And this suggests that there's a greater wisdom underlying all of our experiences. And what I want you to hear is oftentimes in Unity people think, well, I've got a negative thought, so I'm going to bring negative results. No. If we stay in that place, if we stay in that valley, we may see a ripple effect of that. But that's an opportunity because it speaks rather to how our consciousness shapes our experience, our thoughts influence our perceptions, emotions, and actions. And it's important, the work that we do, because it ripples out to the world. It makes a difference. It truly shifts the frequency. A road trip begins, a journey begins with us trusting the process. Do we trust the process? Are we willing to do some surrendering? This is the Lenten season. This is the Easter season. Are we willing to let go of something? Maybe it's frustration, fear. I read in the book the other day, was it pessimism? Letting go of that. I think I was talking to you on the phone, Sandra, and I said, it was the day I think I was leaving. It was letting go of pessimism. I'm like, I'm not pessimistic. But I have been. Can be, can't we all? Oh, that's something good to remember. The adventure begins for us asking the question, are we there yet? Ask yourself that all the time. Am I there yet? Well, better go back to work. Dive a little bit deeper. Attend a class. Eye of the Storm. These spiritual education classes that we offer and we will continue to offer here are a deeper dive. Just to unpack what's more for me to learn. You get a snippet on Sunday, but those classes and those communities, those gatherings are so important to do. I love what Helen Keller wrote, and I think this is about working the faith muscle with trust. It's just working that faith muscle. I've got to grow my faith. I've got to say, am I there yet? I've got to work on that process. And she wrote this, faith is the strength by which a shattered world shall emerge into the light. Right? Love that. Think of her life, her circumstances, and yet she writes that she constantly worked at faith. It's a work, it's a workout, it's going for that walk, getting your cardio in, working on your faith. Take a breath with me. Do you trust? Do you trust what's coming next? Do you trust what's happening? You might feel something tense up in your body going, oh, I don't know. But there's an opportunity there to go on a brave adventure, to empower each other and those that you meet, strangers that you meet, to empower them. Say, yes, I encourage you. Pema Chodron in the book, When Things Fall Apart, if you haven't seen this book or read this book, it's really powerful, wrote, things are always in transition if we could only realize it. Nothing ever sums itself up the way that we like to dream about. The off-center, in-between state is an ideal situation. The situation in which we can open our hearts and our minds beyond limit. So we're in Dallas now, just a few days later. Dallas, Texas has always been right there, and I just, 2 years ago when I began working with this community, I didn't even have it in my thoughts that I would be in Dallas. Didn't have in my thoughts that Reverend Sandra would be right down the street too at the same time, just relocating too. What's happening, Sandra? Something's being drawn this way. Always remember, as I like to remind you each Sunday, that you matter. You matter. Each one of you matter. Never think that you don't. Everything that you do. That you are sacred beings. You are called for this time and this place right now in this community, in this world, at this time. Hear that. You hear that? You matter. You're sacred. And if you haven't heard it today, you'll place your hands over your hearts. You are loved. You are loved. You are seen. You are cared for. And we are blessed that you are here at this moment, at this time, right now on this journey at Unity on Greenfield. Thank you.